Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm a Ukrainian, and I have decided I will vlog daily from my country Ukraine since the start of this awful war with Russia. And in my daily videos I try to update you on the important Ukrainian and international events that concern our country, and of course I'm always glad to answer your questions and to clarify some facts from our history, our culture, our background, or whatever interests you. And today I want to start with my impressions on the G20 meeting and the bright greeting of the greatest Russian diplomat, Lavrov. You know that I'm personally a fan of this man who believes that what he does is diplomacy, but I have a separate vlog where I talk about the Russian diplomacy and the way they see it. Threatening, terrorism, humiliation, bullying, all of these words actually represent the idea of Russian diplomacy. Russian democracy is kind of a phrase that does not exist in reality. So Russian diplomacy. Definitely Lavrov left that G20 meeting on Bali earlier because no one actually wanted to communicate with him. And as far as I understand, they do lack answers to the questions that they get. He was attacked, but not physically, though it would be better. He was attacked by various journalists who asked him questions about war in Ukraine, when can this war stop, and calling them aggressors, oppressors, occupants, which is actually the soft names for what Russians are at the present day. And he escaped all these conversations. Also, he did not want to meet with lots of ministers of foreign affairs from other countries, because he felt uncomfortable during these conversations. And as far as I understand, he left the meetings in general just before the arrival of our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Kuleba, and also the Secretary of State, Blinken. What is important here is that definitely Russia loses its support, and even those people who were more or less neutral or tolerant, or those cowards who cannot imagine life without Putin's regime, it becomes very mauvais ton, if you have a phrase like that. It becomes really problematic to stand close to Russian diplomats or Russian politicians, to shake hands and to discuss anything. Also, I think that his behavior is a clear message that Russia is not looking for ways to stop this war, and it gets angrier and angrier. Of course, this kind of anger will definitely destroy Putin's regime and the state in general, but it can also lead to lots of dangers all over the world. And you know, in my previous vlogs, I have mentioned a couple of times that living in this globalized society with internet access, with so much information from everywhere, it is very much important to learn about these tiny connections that exist between events that don't seem connected. But then at the end, after something really happens, we realize that, of course, the war in Ukraine, for example, was programmed by the reaction in 2014, the global reaction, or by the aggression of Russia against Georgia. So there are always lots of signs that show something. And that's why more and more people in Ukraine start observing the events globally. And yesterday we have spoken about the resignation of Boris Johnson, and today the former Prime Minister of Japan, Abe, if I'm not mistaken, was assassinated during a campaign for the elections. And actually I have learned about that from the comments that I have below my previous video. And I'm once again very proud of the subscribers that I have and the information that you share. You definitely enrich my outlook, and I'm so happy that various conversation exist below. And there was an idea that this can be, the assassination is actually the result of the actions of Chinese Communist Party, or for me it's always Russians to blame in all the problems, in all the global problems and crimes. But definitely Prime Minister Abe was a supporter of Ukraine and a very strong politician, and not only in Ukrainian context. Please don't think that I'm very selfish and always focusing just on Ukrainian issues, but he is a prominent politician, and shootings, gun crimes, they are not popular in Japan. This is a totally different society, so perhaps this is an outstanding tragedy, and I am trying to figure out, how do you think, is it somehow connected with the global processes? Well, maybe not with Ukraine, but as I have already mentioned, I do believe that this is the Third World War, and it has already started because the general world order and basic rules of peace and cooperation were broken by Russia, and this can lead to global changes in the way people live. And of course, other empires and other countries, they keep a very attentive eye on what is going on here and the results of this war, how united the Western world is against the dangers. And I do believe this is important for the people of Taiwan, for the people of Hong Kong. I don't know if I have some subscribers from Japan. That would be really interesting for me. And then definitely my condolences to the loss of the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, but an important figure in the political life of Japan. And let me know, how do you think, what was the reason for his assassination? What I also think that lots of political assassinations were financed by various regimes, and I'm sure that before the start of this war, dozens of bright, interesting people, both inside Russia and outside Russia, were killed, starting from various intelligence services officers and finishing with bright politicians. And I do know, like, not all people in Poland support that idea that the plane with the, as we say in Ukraine, blossom bloom of the political elite was actually destroyed, and that was planned by Russian as a special operation. I know not all Polish people support it, but personally I think this is very likely. Even now, especially now, taking into account that Russia is capable of so many crimes and so many things that you can, like, being normal people, you can never imagine that things like that can actually happen. This is our problem. Someone taught me, by the way, from the subscribers, that we have this phrase, normalcy bias. When you live in this normal world and you believe that other people are also normal, and then when it turns out that your neighbor is a maniac, you cannot believe it, because you judge him by the standards you live on. Anyway, thank you for your support, and I'm looking forward for your comments. Let me know, how do you think that all these global processes, are they interconnected? And if you haven't watched some photos and videos of Lavrov being in total isolation, just as Russia, on G20 forum, please check. And I do think that Lavrov, with this face of his, is the face of modern Russian diplomacy. And as he looks funny in everything that he does, he looks like not foolish in all of his ideas, and spreading Orwellian language and saying totally things that, like, you cannot lie the way he does, because, like, no one will believe you. You have to be at least, like, to invent something more or less normal. But they've got used to lying to their society. They've got used that they're frightened, suppressed society believes them, and somehow when they get out in this normal world, they still believe it's possible to manipulate the same way. But, you know, with healthy people, with healthy mind, it is definitely more difficult, or I hope it's impossible. So thank you for your support. Please let me know what are the other questions you would like me to talk about. If you like my vlogs, do subscribe, like them, share them, because I want more and more people to know about the situation in Ukraine. And please do not get used to war in Ukraine, war in the world. It's not the way we must live in the 21st centuries and all the other centuries to go. Thank you for buying me coffees. Thank you for becoming my patrons. And most importantly, thank you for being with me and all the Ukrainians. Slava Ukraini!